Hello, everyone, and welcome to our presentation on modern network security. We're going to be going over the Zero Trust network and networking. My team is comprised of Michael, myself, Giovanni, Marcus, Prashanta, and Andrew. And so for our introduction today, we're going to be going over the modern networks that constantly deal with modern adversaries that utilize advanced tactics, techniques, and procedures. We're going to be covering a wide array of system components in modern networks, which help to enlarge the attack surface, which works in favor of the adversary. This calls for the implementation of robust security architecture.
You good?
Good. Okay. Thought it was ending there. And so, like I was saying, this calls for the implementation of robust security architecture, regardless of the business type and size. And one of the such strong security architectures is the Zero Trust network design. And so with modern network security today, there are things we're going to cover that are in the perimeter security flaws. We're going to be going over the external access, the internal trust, the zero trust, the U2F FIDO, and the proposed network. And so networks today that are already in place, they're very compromised as far as with Radius and Texas Plus, and then we have disgruntled employees, which are part of the perimeter security flaws in the external access. And so this is where pretty much the employees need access from outside the corporate controlled sites. And then we have the internal trust, which are the hosts inside the network are assumed good. And that's where you'd find the disgruntled employees and these types of technologies that just aren't cutting it now. I'm going to go ahead and hand this over to Andrew next to continue our presentation.
Thanks, Giovanni. So I'll be talking about Zero Trust Network and what it is. That's the main question. A Zero Trust Network is one of the newer concepts in networking in which there is an assumption that every packet in the network is hostile, whether it's internal or external. Within this concept, every device, user, and network flow must be authenticated and authorized. Finally, it requires policy writers to develop dynamic policies to the constantly changing environment because threats are, as we know, constantly changing. The Zero Trust Network has an architecture. The architecture of this network consists of two planes, the control and the data plane. The control plane is a system that provides support to coordinate and configure the data plane. It is the plane that does all of the work in authenticating and authorizing the requester. Finally, it controls the data that flows into and out of the network as depicted in the image on the top right. The next plane is a data plane, and this is a second system that consists of the components in the network, such as the servers, the services, gateways, workstations, and their applications. It allows for the acceptance of traffic from the client and only that single client as directed and authenticated by the control plane. Now I'll pass it over to Marcus to discuss the guarantees of the Zero Trust Network.
Thank you, Andrew. When it comes to Zero Trust model, there are like two methods to guarantee Zero Trust model. The first one is micro-segmentation, and then the second one is mutual authentication. Micro-segmentation, what is micro-segmentation? Micro-segmentation is the method to isolate workloads from one another, such as data centers and cloud environments, and secure them individually. Micro-segmentation, there are three concepts inside of micro-segmentation. The first one is software-defined networks, which is using software applications to configure the networks. And then the second one is software-defined wide area networks, which is using software applications throughout the wide area network. And then the third one, which is virtual extendable local area networks, which is virtualized environment allowing up to 60 million VXLAN segments. And the second concept, which is mutual authentication, which is the process in which both client and server authenticate each other's before the communication actually starts. Inside mutual authentication, there are MTLS, which is mutual transport layer security. What does it do? Basically, it provides encrypted communications over the internet, and it allows the client and server to verify each other. On top of that, there are fast identity online, which is the protocol intended to eliminate passwords such as biometrics, voice, facial recognitions, and PINs. And lastly, there is a universal second factor, which is access online services, one single security key, no drivers required. Now I'm passing it over to Prashanta.
Thank you, Marcus. So for our network, proposed network, we are utilizing Contoso. And for the data plane, and it has data plane and a control plane. And the control plane is the main authenticating agent Okta that we chose. We can also choose other ones available, freely available in the market, but we chose Okta. And Okta acts as the control plane, and the rest of the components here, AWS SSO, AWS Core Pipeline, SSL Bastion, and GitHub repositories, they act as the data plane. This is how it demonstrates that this is a zero trust security architecture. So everything has to be authenticated, including the MFA, and authenticate the SSL Bastion is authenticated using SSH key from YubiKey. YubiKey is the independent provider for cryptographically secure keys. And in our proposed network, so the developers and the testers, they have different access, so access levels. And developer, they can only read write on the AWS Core Pipeline, while testers, they can only go through the AWS single sign-on and single sign-on to the beta environment, while the developers can only go to the development environment. And the AWS Core Pipeline and SSL Bastion is used to deploy and manage and to build other servers. It's on here. Some more details about Contoso are like the authentication to utilize any network resources by any components, users or services or applications. They require a password, something the requester knows, and a position of physical authenticator, something the requester have, that thereby complying with the two-factor authentication. This model does have few of its challenges. One of the main challenges is federating this identity into the deployment, testing, and operation of the software that Contoso creates and sells. It's technically challenging, meaning whoever adopts it or whoever wants to assimilate Contoso within their pre-existing network will have to train themselves or their in-house employees or whoever to develop them to be an in-house expert, or at least have them retain good knowledge so that they can utilize this network model and all the functions and capacity to the full extent. Other services utilizing our SSO are like AWS SSO wins access to AWS resources, meaning the requester once has go through SSO, it can the developer and tester can use AWS SSO to get to access to their respective resources that are available to them. And the third-party services utilize SSO as well, like the payroll, accounting, and GitHub repositories can be accessed using SSO. One thing we forgot to mention in our slides is the compliance issue. This network model, even it's like new model that's not been very much implemented in today's networks, it definitely aligns with and complies with the Sarbanes-Oxley Act, SOX Act of SOX Act, and the California Consumer Protection Act, CCPA. It also aligns with the GDPR, the General Data Protection Act of the European Union. To sum up, our Zero Trust network design is the most robust security architecture available today. The fairing perimeter security architecture that consists of like firewall, IDS, IPS, UTMs, it's not enough to secure modern networks properly because there are too many components in modern networks. And this is why it makes it the Zero Trust design is the best answer that can provide best security regardless of the business type and size. And we believe every business type and size should adopt it, adapt to it, and assimilate it into their pre-existing network and their core networking or the backbone of their networks. And our client with this software development company and like 30 developers, they can definitely achieve great benefits by adopting and implementing the proposed network design for Contoso, which is the ultimate Zero Trust network design. And this is the best network security architecture available in the market today. At this time, are there any questions? Thank you.